Shall we talk about orgasms, perhaps? I haven't really spoken a lot about this topic in these videos on my blog because I am conflicted. And so today I want to talk to you about why I'm conflicted. And then I really do want to talk about what an orgasm feels like because I think for me, when I wasn't able to have one, I was very curious. Did I have one? Was that something that everyone talks about? How do I? I mean, all sorts of questions about it. But I think the most interesting one is what does it feel like? First, my name is Janna Denton-Howes. I am a sex and intimacy coach for married women, and that's why I'm talking about orgasms. Hopefully, I'm on my page and not my personal profile. But even if I was, I would be educating my friends, which is not a bad thing. So, here are kind of my thoughts about how orgasm is dealt with in our society right now, which is not very helpful, not very healthy. Two things are happening. One, they are too emphasized. Is that how we are going to pronounce it? Emphasized? They're too emphasized. There's too much emphasis, for lack of a better term, placed on them. And they're also not emphasized enough. How is that possible? Let's look at this. They're too emphasized. I need to figure out how to pronounce that word. I'm going to drive myself crazy. Because they have been defined as the ultimate success of the sexual experience, which is very problematic because here's the catch 22 is that when you focus on orgasm doesn't happen. Orgasm doesn't work when you feel pressure, when you feel like it's an expectation, when you feel like the success or failure of the experience is riding on its shoulders. It doesn't want anything to do with that. If it has anything to do with how you want your partner, your husband to feel about the experience or to feel about you, if you don't want them to feel rejected or upset, if you don't want to feel broken or like there's something wrong with you, that is called pressure. And our bodies are made for pleasure, not pressure. This is why a lot of women, shockingly, even in very happy, wonderful marriages, will fake orgasm because they're like, well, I better prove to the world, probably themselves and their husbands, that they work. And um, unfortunately, I end up supporting some women in that situation because they have to go to their husbands and just say, actually, I haven't been entirely honest with you. I don't think this is like a truth telling problem. I think it's a society problem that women don't feel safe enough just to be who they are. So this is such a this is can be a very frustrating experience when there is so much emphasis on it because the whole goal from start is, will I be able to orgasm? Will I be able to orgasm with my partner? Will I be able to get there? Where is there anyways? Who has even constructed this success or failure, uh, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like benchmark. Is it even necessary? And it really misses the mark because then women are focusing so much on this one goal that they're absolutely not being able to enjoy sex from all of their nerves. I mean, the whole body, your whole skin, your whole senses, your five senses are opportunity for pleasure, which is actually one of the goals. But when you look at it from a more holistic perspective, I mean, sharing love, tenderness, vulnerability, being able to just retreat from the world together and do something really special and intimate. You delight, you have humor, you can talk. Yes, you can talk during sex. It's one of my favorite ways to connect with my husband during that time. So, yes, that's why it's too emphasized. Now, what about the not emphasized enough? This is where I see, I need to figure out my notes here. This is where I see that there's just not enough clear, direct, factual, and diverse information about how to achieve an orgasm. What does an orgasm feel like? I was sitting outside on my patio in the sun with my pen and my notebook as my kids walked around me. And I wrote down questions that I would be, just on the top of my head, I would be curious about if I was able to get into a room of women who were open, who were of all ages, all different body types, all different nationalities, all different religions. Here's what I would be, just off the top of my head. I'm curious what you would be wondering as well. How do you orgasm? What does it feel like? Do you touch your clitoris? Do you use a vibrator? Can you orgasm with your husband? Do you orgasm first, or does he, or do you orgasm at the same time? I don't know. Maybe there are some unicorns out there who can do that. How long does it take you? Do you expel some liquid? Do you have lubrication? Do you have, a sensation after an orgasm? Do you have multiple orgasms? Do you fantasize? What positions work best for you? Do you orgasm during oral sex? Do you like orgasms? How do you feel afterwards? Do you feel inspired and creative, or do you feel really exhausted? Have you ever had an orgasm? Lots of women have never had an orgasm before. So it's not emphasized enough in the fact that where are you supposed to go for good, clear, factual, non-weird advice? Just like you would go and get advice for budgeting or for home organization or how to change the oil on your car. This boring, factual, clear, no weirdness advice. So by me struggling with this to emphasize, because it shouldn't be the goal and not emphasized enough, I actually haven't showed up and just provided that clear, factual, kind of just straight to the point advice, which I want to change. The thing is, it's not emphasized enough as well, is because men's orgasm is just expected. That's just what's going to happen. And I think it must come somewhat from the fact that male orgasm is necessary for procreation and female orgasm isn't. I don't know why that is. I have spent many hours contemplating this. I do believe in God, so I was like, why? Hello, like, why were we created this way? I have my own theories about that. And I believe it's to do with actually growing equality in the world. But we need to grow up. We need to get proper education. We need to be having education in schools, clear education that involves, hey, you have a clitoris. It feels good. Here's how it could happen. Why not? Why does it have to be so hush hush? Why are we getting such poor education from the media? So, I talked in the beginning, and I was going to say, share with you, be open, be vulnerable about what orgasm might feel like. Now, the hair in my nose. I am one woman. I have one very unique body. So the way it feels like for me is going to be different than the way it feels like for you. But if I'm vulnerable first, then maybe you'll be vulnerable second. And then you'll write to me, you'll email me, you'll comment below on this video. Imagine that. Wouldn't that be crazy? And just describe what it feels like for you. And if you haven't had one, it's not your fault. Your body is made for pleasure. So take this stupid goal off of orgasm. But I want to provide you with the right kind of information. Do you see? It's like the take it off the goal, but let's actually just be grown-ups about this and actually talk about it. So for me, an orgasm kind of feels like a sneeze. So very much like a sneeze. So much so that when I sneeze, I'm like, wow, that's very similar. So just imagine a sneeze. It's like you feel it coming. It's kind of like in your body. There's some like tickly sensations in your nose. You have to kind of stop for a minute and be like, just like if you're in a conversation, like if I had a sneeze right now, I'd be like, oh, hold on, just 1 minute. You'd be like, just pause a minute. And then you would just go like this, go like this, go like this. And then you might get to a point where you're like, uh, uh, and then something happens. Oh, it's gone. Where did the sneeze go? The sneeze is gone. For those moments leading up to it, I know I find sneezes quite pleasurable. For those moments leading up to it, it is pleasurable. It's like, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. It's gone. For me, there are things that help me sneeze. One of them is to look into bright sunlight. Does that happen for any of you? So, there are things that you can do to kind of encourage your body towards that orgasm. The way you're touching yourself, the things you're thinking, the those two things basically. Making sure that all your needs are met in that moment, making requests, maybe the way, if your partner is going faster or slower, asking them to adjust things. And then at some point when you're sneezing, you know that you're gonna have a sneeze. Like, you haven't had the sneeze yet, but you know that the sneeze will definitely happen. It's not gonna stop. So it's like this moment where you're like, and then achoo, like that. Same exact sensation. So what's interesting to me is that the quality varies significantly for me, and I guess it's like this for a lot of women. So I have kind of identified three different types. One of them is the proving orgasm. I am going to prove to myself and to my husband that I work, that I am a sexual being, that my body is perfectly functioning, that there's nothing wrong with me. That is a low quality orgasm. That is usually feelings of like, I'm a failure if I don't. This is very much goal oriented. It's about success. Even after all of the work I've done, I still get into the ruts of proving orgasms. Just human over here. Then there's like this pushy orgasm where it's like, I really want one. I'm going to go after it and it's going to happen. And it's kind of like this graspy, kind of like, we're doing this thing. And usually two things are involved with those ones: vibrators and fantasy, both of which I have decided I don't want in my life. Not to say that I don't use my imagination in really healthy, beneficial ways, but the typical type of fantasy that you would use to just really kind of push and grasp and get there, I'm not interested in. So I'm not really interested in those type of orgasms either. Proving orgasm, pushy orgasm. Now, what I'm interested in, which I feel is like more quality, is what I just termed right before this video the soulful orgasm. And which is funny because I'm not usually the type of person who's like, let's talk about these things. But it feels like all of me is involved in it, including my soul, including that part of me that is drawn towards love, that is drawn towards closeness and connection and intimacy with my partner. It feels like everything's involved, my body and my soul, because it is a joy for both of them. And usually the experience of them is quite slow, it's quite relaxed, there's a lot of peace, there's a lot of like, like a sneeze would be like, ah, ah. Like, there isn't this, like, it's got to be progressive, it's got to be like A to B to C to D, first base, second base, third base, whatever progression you want to call it. And it's delightful, it's pleasurable, it's lots of breathing. There can be some connection with my partner, maybe some sweet words of affection, or some eye gazing. And it's there's usually a period of time between kind of when I described before, when it's like, yes, I know I'm going to sneeze, there's a point of no return, I suppose, and the actual vaginal contractions, if we're going to be scientific about it. And the more relaxed, the more at peace, the more I'm not doing the proving and pushing orgasm, or proving and pushy orgasm, then I can really lengthen out that time. And it's delightful and engaging, and definitely my favorite kind. So I hope that that helped you in some way, maybe normalize the experience of orgasm, maybe inspire you to ask more questions. Um, I hope that I will be able to provide more great quality, factual type of education here. that will, you might feel uncomfortable because our society says it's not comfortable to talk about sex, but I really want to be as comfortable with you for you as possible. So let me know if you have any questions at all, anything specific. I would love to answer them. And until next time, let's see if we cannot help our culture and our society just become a little bit more balanced, a little bit more in the middle. So we're not overemphasizing it and we're not underemphasizing it. We're just being accepting of ourselves, loving ourselves for where we are, but at the same time, really making sure that our needs are being voiced, our needs are getting met, and we are just getting curious about what more we can learn about our bodies. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.